I'm alive. I'm alive. I don't know what that's doing. Yeah. Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one that is alive here. There's got to be somebody out there. Can you hear me? Yep. Just waiting for my peeps to come along and say hello. A lot of good people out there. You guys been watching that Murdaugh trial? I've been checking it out a little bit because I'm doing the crime reports on it. Yeah, that guy messed up big time. He should have never taken that stand. Never. That was a big, big screw up on his part, but it's understandable. It's all or nothing. All or nothing. That's the way he sees it. And now, hey, there he is. Yeah. It's just, that was one of the worst things you could do. I mean, I'm sure that his attorneys were screaming at him in that conference room over at the jail. Don't do this. Don't do this, Alec. Don't do this. Probably grabbed him by his shoulders, shook him a few times. Don't do this shit. You're going to fuck everything up. Yeah. They had a little bit of a fence going. I mean, there's some gaps. I mean, I think he did it. Yeah, for sure. You got a lot of water at the scene. If you touch those people, if you go up to them and you walk around their bodies and you touch them, yeah, you're going to get some blood on you. For sure. Not a spot. That's sort of what made me, not in the fact that he lied about being down there, but I'm not a judge. I could never be a judge. I could never be a juror because I'm like, I know there's got to be law and order. There's no doubt about that. Has to be. But me making decisions like that, that's not in my wheelhouse. Yep. 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 All or nothing. I mean, the guy could have won. I don't know about winning, but he could have at least been eligible for consideration of an Academy Award. I mean, he probably does feel bad. I would. I'd feel real bad. But I mean, he's pretty much a psychopath, so I don't know if he has any true feelings of empathy. Like, can you really feel that other person? Because it's kind of a difficult thing sometimes to feel actual empathy. And sometimes, a lot of times, I think we just fake it. Oh, 63 building. You're talking about like 63 building. That was where they had Robert Stroud for a long, long time. He wasn't the Birdman of Alcatraz. He didn't raise birds or have that opportunity at Alcatraz. I mean, he probably could have, but yeah, he was the Birdman of Leavenworth. He was in 63 building for a long time, and we were on the CMS crew, so it was like that's where you went, right? If you a couple guys wanted me to come down, but I mean, I was builder on the street, so that was the kind of stuff I wanted to do. And one of our first assignments was to go in the 63 building and rip it out, tear everything out, because they wanted us to demo it, because they were going to go and, I guess, redo the whole thing. They should have just torn the whole building down. But they opted to have us go in there. We had a pretty good crew. We had about 8, 9 people. And, we just went to work on the place, went to work on the walls and everything. But right there, where I guess Stroud had, the bars were already gone. But apparently, Stroud had this like elongated cell. The bars were stretched out quite a ways, like about 20 feet. And then it went about 7 or 8 feet deep. So he had quite a bit of space in there. He had like a little apartment. And of course, he had it all to himself. So, I mean, that was Robert Stroud's house. But, yeah, we found some little drawings. Not we, but Carl found some drawings in the wall and shoved them, under his arm, shoved them inside his shirt, under his arm, took them back. There was some writing and some drawings. I think it was like part of Stroud's book or manuscript or something that he was writing. Maybe he just threw it in there. I'll tell you, that name sounds familiar, but Rosso. That name sounds so familiar. So familiar. But yeah, there's no sense in doing stupid shit. I mean, that's what, it happens to everybody. You lose control. Your thoughts go racing off in a certain direction, and this causes you all kinds of anger, frustration, angst, and then all of a sudden, you're doing something crazy. I mean, people can build up to that too over time. Oh, I'm gonna have to check out that channel then. I'm gonna have to check out that channel. Oh no, I do know him. I know who you're talking about. Yes, I do know him. Yes, I did know him in Leavenworth. He was at Leavenworth. Absolutely. Yep, I remember him. Yes, I am. So yeah, I know Rosso. I don't know. I didn't. I know him. I didn't necessarily know his name was Rosso, but yeah, I knew him. He was at Leavenworth when I was there. Absolutely. Yep. And I think his channel's a pretty good one. I believe that what people do is, I think the guys that have these channels, I think the way that they expand their viewership and subscribers, I think they go to these other social media sites, Instagram, maybe, I don't know, TikTok, Twitter, maybe Facebook. They must work those different social media apps. So, yeah, I mean, I might do it, but I'm just wondering, I'm just wondering, because my whole thing, my entire focus it's on trying to help other folks who are in, especially those who are in solitary confinement. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've seen it a couple times, or at least once, and you run out of things to say after a while. I mean, how many? Okay, if you're going to be a news story, if you're going to, report on the federal prison system and what happens in there, like Chad does, that's one thing. But I actually think, and this is just free, Chad, free advice. But I think Chad should make his channel more like a news report and, um, change up the format just a little bit, just tweak it a little bit. I mean, he's doing great, 104,000 subscribers. So, I can't say he's doing anything wrong. That's for sure. But um, that's what it is. It's really a news channel about what's happening in the federal penitentiary system. Yeah, he's got the gift of gab. Chad has got the gift. Some people just have a personality like that. They could just, he could talk to anybody. He really could. And, he's, I don't know, I guess like anyone, he's subject to throw a little fat into the mix, right? Put a little fat on it. But um, yeah, I mean, generally speaking, really, I'm really awed at how well he's done. But I worry about the stress, the pressure, the time constraints, the multiple responsibilities that he has with those little ones and everything else that's going on with him. So, I think I think it seems like he's got people in his corner that are kind of, you know, helping him, coaching him a little bit as to, hey, you got to take it easy, you got to relax, you got to go to the game, you got to go here, go there. Uh, yeah, it's. I'm sure that he has this and that going on, but yeah, I think his Rosso's channel, Convict Inc. I like the way he talks. I mean, he's a personable individual, and of course, he was in for quite a while, so he's got the knowledge, he's got the understanding of what it's like. But you run out of the material after a while. I mean, how many infamous federal prisoners are there? If I mean, I guess everybody, if you ask them, right? But how many have really been in the news or been a sensation or been really talked about all that much? Most of the guys that are in there, even if they've done like really extensive or serious federal crimes, you don't always hear about them. They're not always infamous. Infamous, in my view, just means that you got a lot of publicity. No, no, nope. I never wanted to, and I'll tell you exactly why I never wanted to join a gang. Because the gang members, it looked to me, I'd always been a loner. Always. I'd always, even as a child or whatever, I would just kind of wander off on my own and go out in the fields or the woods or the creek, or I was good just being by myself. And the reality is this: I couldn't have anyone come to me and say, you've got to go do this. And it be something that is against my principles or my standards as a man, as a human being. As a human being. I'm not gonna take directives like that. What the hell kind of sense is that? No. 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 So yeah, I mean, there was there's opportunities that I had, but back in the day, it wasn't like all ganged up like it is now either. There was just a few gangs. Yeah, there was only a couple gangs, so it wasn't like You had to join right off the bat. But sometimes I think, well, what would have happened if, when I had gotten to a joint, someone, group, or one person or two or three or whatever had come into R&D and came up to me and said, we got to see your paperwork, and you're going to have to go get it and bring it to us, and blah 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 blah. I, you know, you got to take off on them right then. I'd be like, what did you say? What? I'd be perplexed, because the reality is this: I'm not going to violate my principles. I'm not going to violate what I believe. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying about the county jails. Yeah. County jails. I've been in county jails, like Marion County Jail in Indianapolis, Indiana. And there's way worse ones than that. Cook County, forget about it. Rikers Island. But, and even to Philadelphia. But, yeah, I mean, Marion County Jail in Indianapolis in the early 1990s was, it was not a good place to be. When you walked into a cell block, it's the old jail. They didn't have pods. They had the rows of cages and the catwalk going around the outside. So, yeah, I mean, when you walked onto one of those ranges, when I walked onto one of those ranges, I was ready to die. I was ready right then and there to die. I was like, today's as good a day to die as any, right? That's what was going through my mind. When I would bring my bedroll, my mattress, and walk onto one of those ranges that I'd never been on before, and they just open the door and put you in, close the door, lock the little box, with a long door, and off they go. COs might make a round every few hours, maybe once a shift, something like that. Not very often, with the meals, of course. But yeah, that was, you had to be in that kind of mindset. You had to be ready. Man, I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, Chill. For real. Cook County. Oh my God. I don't know how you made it through there without, you had to be slick. You had to be on your P's and Q's to get through some of those county jails. I've said it before, many times. Some of these county jails, maybe not now, but a lot of them are still pretty bad. But back in the day, those were hardcore places. You had shit happening there. I'll tell you just a couple stories real quick of what I had happen, right? I go in, Marion County Jail in Indianapolis had two sides to it, the new side and the old side. So they started me out on the old side. They wanted to do some renovation on the old side, so they moved us all over to the new side. I'm going to trial, bank robbery. And this is 1991. So I'm going to trial for bank robbery, and I'm coming back. I'm on the new side because they've temporarily moved us there. So I come in, and I'm standing, there are tables, and I got my foot up on one of the seats, and I'm watching the TV. It's right here. Boom, right in front of me. And I hear this loud boom hit the floor right next to me. Right next to me. And I'm thinking, yeah, somebody just threw their mattress, because we had those heavy mattresses. And sometimes, they hit from height. They make a sound like that. I'm like, yeah, somebody just threw their heavy mattress down on the floor. And I'm not going to jerk my head around. you're trying to maintain your composure, not look like, you're, what was that? So I just casually turned my head and I looked down, and it's this dude, and he's on the ground like this, and the back of his head is about 6 inches off the floor, concrete floor, and it's just pouring blood, like like a stream out of the back of his head. And I'm like, what the? And nobody's doing anything. Nobody's doing anything. I mean, you've got a control module right up in the top where they sit and watch the cameras, and in that side they had cameras. Other side nothing. But yeah, they sit right there behind the glass. So I went over to the door and I hit the button, and a woman was up in the control and she said, "Yeah, what's going on?" I said, "You just got a guy, jumped off that top rail. He's bleeding pretty heavily. I suggest you get medical up here immediately." And they got him. I think he broke his neck. He had a fractured skull. He didn't die. He didn't die, but he was messed up. I mean, he was messed up. I saw him later on. They were wheeling him out of medical like 3, 4 weeks later. And he was in a wheelchair, and, it looked like he was all messed up. It didn't look like he was in too good a shape. But, you see all kinds of stuff go down, right, in those county jails. And now they've got these studies that are being funded by NIJ and other institutes. It all comes through the Department of Justice, but they're trying to study county jails now. And they're trying to get, like, look, 60 days in, 90 days in, 10 years in, whatever. That ain't shit. That ain't shit. I mean, that's, you got shit going on, little stuff, but some of those places you got killings. You got another guy. He got hit with a mop bucket in the back of the head. He's sitting at one of the tables, little tables. I don't know exactly what the beef is. I know what the scuttlebutt was. The guy just picked up a mop wringer, one of those yellow ones with the black handle, and just went right across the back of his head like he was trying to hit the ball out of the park. Yeah. Yeah. And that guy didn't come out so well. He died. So, yeah, that's, and I'll tell you, I was at the point a couple of times when things could have went bad. I mean, I can't explain how close I was at certain times. Things could have went bad. Things could have went bad. Because, how do you put up with all that foolishness, all that nonsense, all that straight up bullshit, and you're locked inside a cage with these folks? And, there was some rude people. Rude, uncool, just fucked up motherfuckers. And yeah, it's like, I put the brakes on. I mean, I'm so glad that I did. Now, of course, after all this time and everything else that happened, but yeah, I put the brakes on, and I'm glad I did. But I pumped those brakes. I pumped those brakes. Trust me, I pumped them. But yeah, they need to look at the county jails for sure, for sure. I know Cook County is one of the most dirtiest, most violent. It's a huge, huge facility, and it's Chicago, man. It's like, okay, all right. Well, I mean, I haven't been in there, but I've known people that have, and they didn't have good reports about that place. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do to survive. Sometimes you can just. Now, I've seen guys come in. I've seen guys come in that I thought, this guy's going to get smashed. He's going to be punked, or he's going to be, you know, beaten, or he's going to be seriously injured, or maybe even killed, or, he's going to be extorted. I've seen guys come in that were like, they weren't tough guys. They were just, I mean, I guess you could say they might have even been physically like mediocre or even weak. But they had a way of navigating everything. They had this natural way of oh yeah. Yeah. They just cops in jails, in these county jails or city jails. I mean, you could, you even start to get out of attitude a little bit. Like, I remember a time, and I think it was, I don't know where it was, I think it was Tampa, but they tried to get us to douse ourselves with a cup of this white powder, like delouser. And the guy was standing by the shower, and he wanted me to put it on my head and on my face and body and all over. He handed it to me, and he said, just douse yourself, just before you get in the shower. Just douse yourself with this. And I looked in the cup and I said, are you kidding me? I'm not dousing my head. I'm not putting this on my body. And I just walked over and I dumped it out in the drain. They were mad. They were mad they didn't try to do anything right there. But when I went out, there was him and then his buddy, and they were mad about that. Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what they were trying to throw on me, or wanted me to throw it myself. Yeah, I'm not going for that. I mean, I was like, I'm not doing that. But the point is that they can do just about what they want to. I've seen them slam guys. I've seen them knock people's front teeth, right out of their mouth. They did it to this one guy. I've seen it done a few times, but this guy, they dragged him down the stairs, handcuffed, backwards, dragged him by his feet down the stairs. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yeah, I didn't know. I thought it was some kind of like chemical, like Agent Orange or something. But those folks do exactly what they want. They will abuse, and you can't win. You can't win. Not really. Not you might knock out one of them, maybe two of them. You might give up possibly you might give up a good fight for three of them, right? Just because they can't get you down or whatever. But they've got too many. They'll come pile on you 10, 12 at a time. You've got no win there. That isn't even smart, really, but on the other side of that equation, yeah, they always win in the long run, always. But on the other side of that equation is, you're relying upon them for everything, right? For your food, for any kind of medications, for mail, for whatever you get has to come through them. So it's like, you're like, man, you're really stuck there if you've, if you feel like it isn't right, it's probably because it isn't right. And I think a lot of people that, I don't think people that commit non-violent crimes should even go to jail. I don't believe that. I don't believe they should even go to jail. No, you commit a non-violent crime. There's lots of other ways in this day and age to deal with that, right? You can take that through a whole different process. All you got to do is, bone up the system a little bit and bring these other systems online. But in violence, they've described this term too broadly, way too broadly. They've got it to mean basically anything they want it to now. Oh, there's a possibility that you could have done this or that. Yeah, that's a good question, Chief. Shy tail. Um, that's a great question, Shy. Yep, yep. I've seen him. I've seen him in the county jails. I remember this one guy. He had red hair. I'll never forget him. It kind of just stuck out like that around his head. And he's a skinny guy, freckled up. And he came in and he went over to this, there's a bank of phones. And he was talking to his girl, like all the time. And then, like maybe second or third day, he started like begging on the phone, like pleading with her. I mean, loudly too. Like, please don't do this. I need you. Please stay with me. I gotta have you in my life. I can't live without you. Please don't do this. And, it's, I mean, I wouldn't say, where I'm at now in my mindset, I wouldn't say it was pathetic. I would say that it's pathetic that he was put in that position, or didn't understand that a certain way things go when you go to jail. But yeah, he broke down pretty quickly, and it was just it was just crying like a baby, just crying like a baby. Um, I saw a guy in, I think it was Howard County Jail. It might have been Hillsborough, but um, it was up in Kokomo, I believe. And they brought him into the holding cell, and he was already messed up. He was already crying when they brought him in. And, he had a windbreaker and he was still dressed in his street clothes, but he's crying and stuff. And, hey, I've never been to jail before. And, guys I mean, I've got a little bit of sympathy because going into captivity, I don't think it's ever any fun. I don't think, I don't, I'll go even further than that. I'll say, I don't think it's ever a good thing for the person going into captivity. I don't think it's, because look what you're losing. You're losing complete control. You're losing what they call freedom. You have no freedom, or very, very little. Yeah, you can think what you want, but you can't say what you want. You can't do what you want. You can't go where you want. You can't have what you want. You have to do what they tell you to. And if you don't, then yeah, they're gonna pull out the sticks, or they're gonna bang you around in the elevator or in a tunnel somewhere. Um, yeah, it's just the way they do business. So yeah, they're gonna throw you in a cage. You're gonna be in a uniform. You're not gonna have, really, you're not even gonna have your name anymore. really. I mean, you'll still have it, but it's degraded by that point, right? So, yeah, I just don't see any gain in it. I see it as being such a, um, now I do, of course, but yeah, I see it as being like, nah, no, the cost so far exceeds the benefit that it's just, there's not even a possibility. There's Diggity Dang. Cheers, my friend. Cheers. We're talking about some of these county jails over here across the pond, how dangerous they are. And yeah, some of them are very, very dangerous places. Very sad, depressing places. But yeah, it's, I would definitely, there's a, oh, that was a kid in Howard County too, Shy. I wanted to tell you, um, kid in Howard County Jail in Kokomo, Indiana. Later on, he was already in. They put him in for a probation violation. I think he was 17 years old or something. I didn't even know they could put somebody in there that was as young as he was. And he was on our block. Now, there it wasn't so bad, right? Kokomo was a small little city. So it wasn't too bad at all. But this kid they put in for a probation violation, and I think it was a Friday afternoon, but I'm out there in the day room, and these other two guys that are in the cell, they're four-man cells, they come to me and they say, hey man, dude's back there trying to kill himself. He's got something wrapped around his neck, and he's on the floor. And I'm like, what? And I just got up and went back there. And sure enough, here's this kid. His neck and his face was all puffed out and blue, and he had this garbage bag that he had twisted up and wrapped around his neck. And he had it tied tight. It was deep, between the skin. It was down in there from, where the swelling and the tightness, he was cutting off the circulation to his head. It had been cut off for, I don't know, a couple minutes, maybe a minute and a half. But yeah, I just got a razor blade and just, I always have a razor blade just for like cutting stuff, paper, not for any self-protection or anything. Yeah, I'm really going to whip out a razor blade? Yeah, here you, no. But I've always got one somewhere around if I can get one just for cutting paper or sharpening pencils or doing whatever, right? So I had it in an apple, had it in an apple. So I cracked that apple open, I got it, and I just started cutting down across the bag as much as I could, cut his neck a little bit, but got it off of him. But that was an incident that always stayed with me because obviously, it's a kid. A kid. Just a kid. Just a kid. Now, can kids be dangerous? Of course, kids can be dangerous. Most kids probably are dangerous or easily could be, right? So a lot of that depends on, I think, how they're brought up or what their environment is or what kind of role models they have or don't have. All of that factors in big time. So, if you learn early on, if you learn certain things, I guess you don't end up going there. But I think anybody can end up going to jail or even prison. I think anybody. If people are just saying, hey, it's just criminals, it's just these people that live a criminal lifestyle or whatever, uh-uh. What about that Murdoch trial, huh? Guy didn't have a record. He didn't have a record. What are you going to say about that? I mean, people can go off the deep end, and they do. Or you could just be caught up in something. I was telling my wife the other night, I was saying the thing that I fear the most driving at night is that I'm going to hit somebody that's crossing the street that I can't see, or somebody that's jetting out in front of me on a bicycle. And, you hit somebody, you hit a pedestrian, and that's going to be a charge. At the very least, you're going to have a high misdemeanor, probably a felony charge, though, to start. Yeah, Murdaugh. Think about this. Here's Alec Murdaugh. He demands go up on the stand against his attorney's advice, against his own knowledge, right? He's a lawyer, ex-prosecutor. He goes up there. The first thing his attorney does is paint him as a pathological liar. You, you lied, right? You lied about this, about not being down at the kennels. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And you lied for a long time, right? About this. You never brought. Yes, I did. I mean, I think his attorneys were pissed at him for making that decision. Yeah. I think his attorneys are getting back at him for making that decision to testify. Because think about it. Their reputations are on the line there as well. They didn't come into that case thinking they were going to lose. They came into that case. You got a state senator sitting there. Now they're embarrassed. Now they're like, oh my God. And how about this? Murdaugh says this 2 or 3 times. He says to the prosecutor, yes, I looked people straight in the eye. Or maybe I didn't look them in the eye, but people that I loved, people that I really cared about, I did them dirty. I shit them up. I stole their money. I did this, I did that. Well, what are you saying? Isn't that a confession? Isn't that a kind of an off to the side confession? In other words, you can look someone you care about or love straight in the face and do them dirty. Really? Isn't that exactly what happened down there at the kennels? I think that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, who's taking 2,000 milligrams of oxy per day? Who takes 2,000 milligrams? Does anybody know? I don't know. Is that even possible? Would you not just die? What about all these opioid overdoses and everything? All these hundreds of thousands of people that were falling out and dying. 2,000 milligrams? I know at one point when I was in USP Springfield, I got like 80 milligrams, I think it was, a day in 4, like 20, 20, 20, 20, in 4 different med rounds. And man, I'm telling you what, that stuff had me, whew, I was out. But yeah, I mean, what the heck is going on? Can you do 2,000 milligrams of oxy a day? Is it possible? I don't know. I'm just asking. But yeah, this guy he lost it. He just totally lost it. I think it might have been, I think there's a couple of things that could have happened, okay? His wife, that property was all in his wife's name. Moselle, all in his wife's name, 1,700 acres, everything. He was trying to get money from the bank. He was trying to get money from this bank that he did business with, a big loan. He was trying to get, I don't know, 750,000 or a million or something. And they wanted collateral. They wanted their collateral. They were already stretched. He already had them stretched out. Now they wanted Moselle as collateral. I think she wouldn't go for it. I think she wasn't, because she would have known. Well, he said she knew about his addiction, everything else, if that was the case. But she certainly knew that he was turning into a big time scumbag with, look what he did. Yeah, Peterstown. I'm thinking that 2,000 milligrams a day. Because, like you say, I was on 80, like chopped up into 420s, different medication calls through the day. And that stuff had me pretty well zapped out. I mean, I was I was high. Wow. Yeah, but 1080s, that's 800. So another 1200, could you have, is it possible to function? Can you walk around? Because there were times when I couldn't get up off the bed. I was like, I guess maybe just didn't want to. I guess I could have if I had to. But yeah, it was a little bit of a thing. But at any rate, yeah, Murtaugh's cooked. He's fried. He's more than fried. He's crispy fried. He's like, charcoal ashes now. Anybody, before you might have had one person that says, no, you know what? I don't think he did it. And they have a hung jury. Oh, I see. I see. But usually you could get one person, right, from that county, somebody that thinks he's going to, or she is going to ingratiate herself with the Murdaughs. You got people like that. So, yeah, you could get a hung jury. It's quite possible. Not now. Not now, it isn't. You get a hung jury now, you know what? That odd man or woman out is going to be castigated for to the end of their lives. They will be mocked because how do you quit someone who has testified and admitted to the things that he has? Now, the other part of this is the appeal, right? Because they had a good appeal going because res gestae or gestae is a premise of law that says, okay, whatever's connected to the criminal offense itself, no matter how far out it is, like rings of time spreading out, doesn't matter. It's part of the thing. It's part of the context of this crime. But if that's the case, then you could bring in whatever evidence you wanted to bring in about somebody because all of it would supply some kind of context, right, to the merits of the charge. So I don't think that judge was correct in holding that res gestae was, included other acts or extrinsic acts, offenses like him stealing the money from the bank, from his clients, or from insurance companies, et cetera, and so on, and the attempted assassination or fake assassination, all that. I don't think that it might have been relevant in a broad sense to, I don't know, motive, intent, planning, whatever, lack of mistake. they've got a lot of exceptions, but I think it was highly prejudicial. And I think they had a good case on appeal because, the probative value has to outweigh the prejudice. That's usually Rule 403 under federal law. So, yeah, what he did was it's classic stuff. It's like desperation mode, right? I'm going to throw myself on the little sword and admit that I did these other crimes. I'm not going to deny that at all. And I'm going to keep saying that I'm sorry and that I shouldn't have done it. It was wrong, etc. Like a parrot, right? He kept saying that all the time. Um, but I'm not guilty of these others. So he's trying to like shoestrap credibility in there. And it just didn't work the way he thought it would in his mind. See, that's what happens is, when you have this set of errors or error in the functions of the mind like that, we can call it criminality or, sociopathy or even psychopathy. But it's really just an error in the way that things are processed. It's to me, it's like, okay, his perception of reality was off to a certain degree, and if your perception of reality is off to a higher degree than the perception of reality that others have around you or in that courtroom, then you're fucked. I mean, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make huge mistakes in your decisions. And that's what he did, man. He made that was a giant gamble, but he's supposed to be a gambler. But that was a bad bet right there. That was a bad bet. Should have followed his lawyer's advice, should have stayed off the stand. Or, he could have made a statement. He could have got up on the stand and his lawyer could have said, would you state your name for the jury and spell your last name and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself? He could have went into an hour of soliloquy and told the jury everything that he wanted. He could have made his own closing argument. And then he could have stood up and walked off that stand without ever being cross-examined. Yep. I've known guys, I know of 2 guys that did that in Kansas City. And they both got acquitted. And the judges it was 2 separate cases. They're about a month apart. Co-defendants, but separate cases a month apart. They both did the same thing. And they couldn't do anything about it. There was, I think in one of the cases, the last case, the judge gave an instruction or directed the jury to disregard it or struck it or whatever. But, how do you unring a bell? How do you unring that bell? But I don't think those lawyers are very, I think that they're, once you have an outcast like that, member of the group that goes rogue, goes so far off the beaten path that your own members turn against you. Yeah, I can see that. And if you watch the prosecutor really closely, if you watch that prosecutor, I mean, maybe not today, but yesterday, he had a master class on cross-examination. I mean, I'm sure that portion of cross-examination will be looked at for years in law schools around the country and elsewhere probably. But he held a clinic in cross-examination. yesterday. Today, I thought he kind of lost the sharpness of what he had going yesterday. I thought he kind of drifted a little bit. He made some good points. He got some mileage out of it, I guess. But I'm just watching him and I'm framing him against like the classic Southern lawyer or prosecutor that you would think, would come out of South Carolina. And he seems like the quintessential kind of dude for that role, right? Like right out of Central Casting. But he's got all the moves. He's got his eyeglasses going. He's got all his body language. He uses the podium. He uses the whole courtroom. He gets up next to the witness. Um, yeah, if you watch him, he's got a lot of moves, and he gets lot of little jibes in too. But yeah, I don't think they have any kind of a real worry about that case right there. I think that's the Murdaugh case is pretty much over. I think it'll wrap up by probably next Thursday. They're saying Tuesday or Wednesday. Nah, those things always go. It'll probably be Friday. But before they get to like opening statements. But yeah, I mean, bad move by the defense. Bad move. But, you know, I don't know. It's hard to say. But that's pretty extreme act right there. Killing your wife and your son. And I think he shot the son first. I think he shot Paul. I think if he didn't have it premeditated, he just exploded in the minute. Everything had built up so much. He was under such immense pressure that he just couldn't, he just exploded and just went into this like kind of a psychotic state. He just completely lost it. I think those guns were right there. I think he shot Paul in the chest, and when Paul fell down, because that would knock you down. Trust me, you getting shot in the chest with a 12 gauge shotgun. I don't care what kind of shell they're using. You get shot at that range in the chest, you're going down. It's going to knock the wind out of you at the very least. So yeah, the pathologist I thought was pathetic because, oh no, he would have still been standing. And what? With a bruised lung? Do you know what that means? That means, have you ever had the wind knocked out of you? I have plenty of times. You go down, man. You go down. I fall down when I get the wind knocked out of me. But yeah, yeah, he shot his son first. When he went down, he just walked up and put one right up under his chin, or, maybe from any kind of close range, maybe he stumbled himself. It was raining out. Maybe he stumbled and, pulled the trigger as he was stumbling or something. Who knows? And then, of course, his wife was all freaked out, and she's over by the golf cart or the four-wheeler or whatever. And, what are you going to do? Really? I mean, you're there with your husband and your son, and you're a few feet away, and all of a sudden your husband steps out of that feed room and just blasts your son with a 12 gauge in the chest, and then just does whatever he does and blows his brains out. I mean, I don't know how that kid's brains hit the ceiling. I don't think it went up and hit. I don't think they did a real good crime scene investigation. Cops were walking all the way through there, all the way inside that tape. One guy stepped in something, and he like started to shake his leg, like, what did I step in? What's on there? And they were walking all over the place through that crime scene. So, yeah, that was not professional at all. But then again, how often do they have something like that happen in that county? But it looks like that's my time for today. I wish you men a great weekend. I hope to see you next week at a more propitious time. Sorry for the little bit of a scheduling error that I made. Yeah, yeah, they weren't very good, Peter's. I mean, yeah, and he was one of the crew, one of the club, they knew who he was. There's no question that he had that like image going. But yeah, have a great weekend, y'all. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. Keep doing the right thing. You know, yeah, it's just the right thing to do.